What's going on, everyone? So there are constant rumors and reports on like what the Lakers are going to do, and you'll see a lot of these reports. Like one guy says this, and one guy says this. Like I'll get comments on occasion where people are like, "Man, you're all over the place," and it's not me. It's just the reports. All I'm doing is just taking the information that's out there, relaying it, giving my thoughts and opinions, and obviously always asking you for yours, and just having those fun conversations, that fun dialogue. But what I try to do when I'm looking at all these reports and kind of the chaos is like, what are the consensuses? What are the kind of general thoughts and directions? And, yeah, you have like 15 different people saying 15 different things, but are any of them saying something similar? And something that I've talked about is like the cap space situation, right? Like Lakers seem to really want to kind of maintain flexibility. Lots of talks about the Lakers pivoting to maybe doing these kind of pieces trade, right? Where instead of going and getting like a Brandon Ingram or a Zach LaVine or something like that, or maybe even a Valanciunas, right? Or not a Valanciunas, a Vucevic, right? They might go get a Valanciunas plus like 3 or 4 other guys and just go get kind of 3, 4, 5 guys that they can plug in, kind of better deepen and round out the roster better, get some youth, get some athleticism, right? Get some pieces, right? You hear a lot even from the Lakers about wanting to maintain for now, but also set yourself up for the future, right? So you kind of have the complementary pieces. So when LeBron does ride off into the sunset, you still have Anthony Davis, and then all you have to do is just plug in that other star. Right, and now you're in just a good position for the long haul. Another thing that you've kind of heard and seen is that the likelihood of the Lakers trading a first is very unlikely. Now, here's the thing. The report came from Jovan Buha, but he even said in the report, it's more so the Lakers aren't, it's not that the Lakers aren't willing. I mean, Rob Pelinka has said himself, 3 times publicly that hey, we're willing to trade our first even for a marginal move. Now, when he said even for a marginal move, that was before all this new when all the prices were insane and everything. Now you're starting to see prices drop and you're starting to see the effects of the CBA and all that stuff. So maybe that's changed. Maybe that thought process has pivoted a little bit. But also, it's just who's out there that's worth a first. Right? Again, Lakers are willing to trade the first. And really, we're all of us, right? Myself, most of you are F them picks, right? Go and get the guys, right? Whatever it takes. But again, why would you give up a first for a guy that you don't have to? I've talked about it before, to put it in an analogy of a car. If you can buy a car that's worth, say, $20,000, but you can pay only $10,000, why would you give them $50,000? Or why would you give them $20,000 when you could get it for $10,000? Right? Yeah, the car might be worth $20,000. It's well, why are they selling it for $10,000? It's just hey, they just want to get rid of it, right? It's just sitting there, it's just collecting dust. Right, it's in the way. They got a new car, or they're trying to get a new car, and they need this space. They need this spot, right? So you're walking into a deal, right? And that happens, right? So that's kind of what the situation is in the trade market and the trade front right now. You kind of have all these various deals that are going around right now that have the potential to pay off. Any other trade deadline, Nikola Vucevic is easily going for a first. But right now, supposedly you can have him for 2 seconds. Why? Because it's just not a lot of demand. Teams don't want to take on the long-term salary. Teams don't, how many teams need a center for one? Right? Bad teams, they don't want to just, take on guys unless you're attaching assets. But, Chicago's why would we attach an asset to him? He's a 20-10 guy, right? Top 5, top 7 center in the league? Why would we just, give him away and then also add assets to it, right? So Lakers may be able to find some real value in the mix of everything that's kind of going on, in the mix of all the chaos and commotion, right? But again, if there's nothing that's worth giving up a first for, then fine. Don't trade it. Don't just give up a first just to say oh, hey, we gave up a first. But another big thing that the Lakers clearly seem to want to do is cap flexibility, right? They really want to seem all the names that you keep hearing still give the Lakers, most of them, give the Lakers cap flexibility, right? Bruce Brown, expiring contract in the offseason. Lonzo Ball, expiring contract in the offseason. Malcolm Brogdon, expiring contract in the offseason, right? Even guys like Jonas Valanciunas would be an expiring contract. Now he'd go into it because he has 3 years, 2 years left on his deal, but the final year is non-guaranteed, right? So you could go and use him as a trade chip in the offseason if you needed to. right? Like even like a Valanciunas has one where that could be a $20 million expiring contract that you could use to trade, right? Like Lakers aren't looking, like you haven't heard a lot of buzz about like Brandon Ingram. You know, you've heard like little murmurs and stuff, but it's because the Lakers know that he wants $50 million. Now that doesn't mean that won't happen and that they might not go trade for him. We'll see. Time will tell. But even like a Zach LaVine, you heard about, you know, Lakers talked about Zach LaVine and then the talks ended up going nowhere, right? So, well, why? Because it's like the Lakers don't want to just take on this long-term salary, right? They want to be cautious. They want to be wary. Also, a lot of the guys that they're interested in are all free agents in the offseason. Miles Turner, right? Guys like that. Bruce Brown, guys like that. So if you can go get a guy or two and you have this flexibility, like let's say you go get a Bruce Brown, right? Okay. Well, in the offseason, you could clear, say, $12 million off your books because he's not going to make $23 million. Say he's making, or let's call it 4 years, $48 million. You sign a new deal. So you clear $11 million off your books. Well, Dorian Finney-Smith, same thing. Say instead of 15 and some change, it's 4 years, $48 million as well, right? Boom, you just cleared another like $3.5 million off your books. So you're at like $14.5 million that you cleared. Get a couple vet minimums that fall off. So you're at like, you get to like $20 million in salary clear off without even doing anything, just by signing guys, right? And then you also have a guy on a poster behind me that could literally play for the vet minimum if you wanted to. I'm not saying he would go that steep, but he's willing to take $20 million less to go get a Valanciunas or, you know, a Klay Thompson or a DeMar DeRozan. So, like, if the Lakers were to go get, you know, 2 or 3 guys and then, you know, a Kyrie becomes available, right? LeBron could be like, hey, whatever I have, like, whatever we have to do within it. Oh, and by the way, the cap rises. And it's supposed to rise pretty significant, right? There's kind of mixing reports on that. Like, there's some that have said, like, oh, it's only going to rise like 10 million. Well, 10 million is still 10 million, right? So again, if you could clear 20 million, the cap goes up another 10 million. That gives you 30 million right there. And then if LeBron takes another 30 million, you've cleared 60 million off your books, right? Like, that 60 million, you get your full mid-level exception, and you could sign another like $20 million guy. I mean, I don't have like all the numbers, like, right in front of me to be like, oh, you know, it's a $23.5 million. But you should be able to get a pretty significant guy on top of still your mid-level exception. So you might be able to go get 2 or 3 guys, right? Like Miles Turner might become, you might be able to sign him for, you know, 4 years, whatever, 80 million or something like that. And then you have your Bruce Brown with your Austin Reeves, your LeBron James, your Anthony Davis, and then your Miles Turner. Now, obviously, that doesn't help us this season. Obviously, that doesn't do what we need to do. Like, now the Lakers aren't a contender this season. But if the Lakers can kind of make a couple moves, make a couple deals, and still maintain that flexibility in the offseason, right, you can kind of try to go make that push this season. Right, and see it again, like you get a Bruce Brown. Like Bruce Brown, Austin Reeves, Dorian Finney-Smith, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis is much more comparable as a starting 5. Much better just balance and everything right there. You're going to be better overall. Like Lakers would be much better with that starting 5 than they are right now. Issue is you're still thin on the bench and stuff like that. So can you maybe piece together a couple bench guys or go get another bench guy that doesn't really like hurt your, you know, your future flexibility, right? Or can you get like a cheap guy or two, right? Can you go get an IO or something like that, right? Like where, you know, he's like $7 million this year and next year so it doesn't really like mess up or fudge up anything that you're trying to do. Then you still have the flexibility and it's like, okay, well, we got, you know, these 5 guys. Can we go and add another guy or two, right? Like, all of a sudden you look up and it's like, oh, okay. Like, you know, you might have something here. And you still, now, maybe you are bringing Bruce Brown off the bench and now he's your 6th man. And then you have him and like an IO off the bench or something. And you got, you know, whatever. Like I said, let's say it's a Miles Turner, just using it as an example, right? And you got like Reeves, Dorian Finney-Smith, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Miles Turner, right? Like, you're just much better balance, right? You got Bruce Brown that could slot in. You go literally Bruce Brown, Dorian Finney-Smith, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Miles Turner, right? Like, it just gives you better flexibility. So, Lakers, I'm curious to see what the Lakers ultimately end up doing. Because trades are coming. Like, the biggest consensus is that more trades are coming. Lakers are going to do other things. There's plenty of sellers out there. The Lakers are going to be able to make some moves. Is it the sexy move? That's the question. Like, is it the sexy moves that we all kind of want? That I don't know. Are they gonna make the moves necessary to really right the ship and us now become a title contender? That I don't know, right? But I do think that they do 2-3 trades, or land 2 or 3 guys, whether they're smaller guys or like a big guy and a small guy, right? Like I said, a Vucevic and this guy, or a Vu and a Bruce Brown, or whatever, right? Like, it'll be interesting to see how the Lakers kind of piece this together and play it out. But again, the cap flexibility seems to be a big thing for the Lakers. Lakers really seem to want to like create cap space, and they'll trade their first, but they're not going to trade their first unless something really matters. Which, again, if you can get these guys right, without having to give up a first, then why would you? Like, if you can go get all these guys and still maintain your first, and now you have, like I said, a Bruce Brown and a Valanciunas, and now you have your 2 firsts right now, plus more firsts free up in the offseason, and now you have 3 or 4 firsts that you can now trade again, and a bunch of seconds and all this stuff, and now you're like, hey, we can go get a star, we can go get a De'Aaron Fox or something now, right? Like, so just things to keep in mind. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass question to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you think this is the right move for the Lakers? Do you think it's the wrong move for the Lakers? You kind of mixed in the middle. However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it either way, so let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Lets me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.